So let's start with our lesson 3, and which is the game flow. And here we are going to use the conditionals, which is the if else statement and the switch statement. And for the examples, we have a simple AI agent, the nav mesh agent, where we are going to spawn some enemies and they are going to follow the player. So let's create our folder first. So we have lesson 3 and examples, project and task. And in our examples, we need to create our scene. Lesson 3 slash example. And let's make it dark background. And we are going to need 3 scripts. First is the then we have an anime manager. Just going to spawn the enemies. Finally, we have our advanced enemy AI. So let's start creating those scripts. So our simple player controller is going to have some movement and jumping mechanics. So let's put it in space. Some 3 examples. Now, so we are going to have a private movement speed. And inside update, we are going to move in the X and the Z axis. Okay, it is correct. I'm going to translate. But, 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 we are also going to need the jump mechanics. Field and call it jump force. I use underscore. And after that, we are going to need a reference to the rigid body. Private rigid body RB. And Rabbit Bowl is grounded. By default, we are going to be grounded. And inside our start, we need to get the rigid body. So RB is going to get component, and if RB is null, then we need to ask the player to attach the rigid body. And inside our update, we have the horizontal and the vertical movement, and we'll calculate the movement. Transform dot rotation, transform dot translate. And we also need to check it is jumping. So if input space and if it is grounded, at collision enter, and is grounded is true. If compare type ground, only then it is going to be true. So let's first test this script. So let's go inside Unity, and first we'll create an empty with ground. Okay, so the ground is going to need a mesh renderer and mesh filter. Our mesh filter is for the cube, and let's position our camera for the top for now. And we'll need to create material for this, so we'll also create that. But let's increase our size. So instead of 10, let's make it 25 in the y-axis, 25, 1, and in the z-axis also 25. So our player is going to play here, and we need a material. So let's create a material, and we'll call this ground. And the ground is going to have a brownish color, and let's attach it to the ground. And to make the ground look good, we'll need the lights. So let's add a 2D directional light. And let's position the camera to be perspective and orthographic, and for the z-axis, so we can see the player. Uh, uh, Now we should be able to correctly see the player. And now we'll add the player. So our player again is going to a simple sphere. Uh, for to add the sphere, we are going to need a mesh filter, which is going to attach the sphere. And to show the sphere, we'll need a mesh renderer. And for the material, we'll call this player. And it is going to be our neonish color. And our player needs to be a little bit higher. For the Y, 1. And for the material, we'll add our material. And player is going to need the tag for the player, and the ground is going to need the tag for the ground. And we'll attach the tag for the ground, and it is also going to need a box collider. It is not going to be trigger. Similarly, for the player, we are going to need a sphere collider and also rigid body, which is going to have the gravity to move it around. Next, we'll attach our player move simple player control script. So a player should be able to move around. So as you can see, our player can move and jump. Not the perfect setup, but walk. Let's increase its speed so it moves a little bit faster, jumps a little bit higher. Jump speed was too high. Let's just have it so now. Collision rb dot add force mode dot impulse. So doesn't matter. So next we are going to create our second script, which is the enemy manager. Here just we are going to spawn a wave of enemies inside random spawn points. So let's put it in the namespace, lesson 3 examples. First, we are going to need a private game object for our enemy prefab. Serialized field, private transform for the spawn points. And we'll need an array of game objects and array of spawn positions. And again, how many waves will be spawned? Is per wave, any wave, and after that, spawn interval, time between waves, private float, private int, and next spawn time. Inside our start, if enemy prefabs not attached, and will spawn a wave. If time is greater than next spawn time, spawn wave, debug.log. Next spawn time is equals to let's create our spawn wave function. So spawn point, enemy prefab, and instantiate current wave plus, and the enemy spawn. Okay. Nothing complicated here. And after those enemies are spawned, we are going to have the advanced enemy AI. Again, this is a complicated script. I don't know why the chat be attached it here, but as it was here, I'm going to create it. It is an example for an advanced example. So let's start. It is also going to use the AI system. So using Unity Engine .ai, and here we are going to have a public enum for the enemy state, chasing and attacking. Public private enemy state, current state, and by default it is idle. Patrolling, chasing, patrol, chase, attack, free search. There are so many. Enemy state patrolling. So by default, we are just going to have the patrolling and the chasing. So in the patrolling, it is just going to move around between the spawn points, and in the chasing, it is going to chase us. Current state, and it is not good to. Let's just delete it. And after that, we are going to have patrol points and serialized field. Direct transform to chase. We will need the layer. And after that, we are going to need the detection range, speed, speed, float attack range, private nav match agent, and current patrol index. And inside the start, let's start with getting the agent. Match agent, and we need to get the player. Game object or find object to tag player, and if match agent equal to null, log, enable it and return. And if no patrol points assigned, else will send the agent dash dot set destination current patrol index. Player. Forgot to add the player. So current patrol index, you also need to set it up. Current state, patrolling. Current patrol index equal to 0. And why is this underscore current patrol index? Okay. So at the start, it is going to be patrolling at the first position. And inside the update, we are going to switch our current state, patrol, chase, and remaining distance is less than machine not stopping distance. How does this work? Current patrol index is going to increase agent dot set destination, and if detection range, then we are going to move to the chasing range. Hmm. Hmm. Player is not equal to chase, attack, implement attack logic here. So if it is attacking, it is not going to chase. Pretty simple, but it automatically did everything for us. If player is equals to null, okay. So we also need to attach the player conditions. So patrol, Namash agent, v3 dot distance. If player is equals to null, then we are just going to return. Similarly, when we are chasing, if player is equals to null, then we are going to return. And in the attack, if player is equals to null, then we are going to return. Don't need it to do anything. So what does the script do? Depending on the current state, it is going to set the method. In the patrol, we just set the destination to be the next destination depending on the patrol index. And if we are in the detection range of the player, then we are just going to chase the player, set destination to player dot position, set destination, set destination. So again, it was pretty simple. Most of the task was done with the autopilot or the copilot. Now Let's attach the anime manager script. So anime manager. We need the anime prefab and the spawn points. Enemies per wave are going to be 3. Time between per wave is going to be, let's say, at 5. And let's create our spawn points first, as they are going to be the easiest. Spawn point and slash 1. Let's duplicate it multiple times. And let's place it random in negative 10 to 10. And similarly, this will be negative. And let's create an empty and we'll call it spawn points, and we'll attach our spawn points to this. So our enemy manager is going to need all the spawn points. And we are going to need the enemies. So let's attach an enemy. And our enemy is going to have, what are we going to need? Nav mesh agent. Yeah, we are also going to need that, but first we are going to need the mesh filter, so we can see our enemies and we'll make them maybe capsule. And let's attach a mesh renderer, and let's position them a little bit towards the 2 or maybe 1.5. Capsule collider, outrigger, rigid body, and we are not going to use gravity. We'll freeze the Y rotation and Y position and the X in the Z rotation. And we are going to need a nav mesh agent. Agent type humanoid speed. Let's increase its speed to around 10. Angular acceleration. Let's attach the advanced enemy AI. So only thing we are going to need is a player. Maybe we don't even need that. Yeah. Player. So we won't need the player, we just need the patrol points, and our patrol points are inside our spawn points. So where they are going to, the detection range is going to be 10 and the attack range is going to be 2. We need a material for our enemy, and let's rename this to enemy. And for the material, we are going to use green. I don't know why I'm attaching green to a player, but let's use the green. Mesh renderer, green enemy. And it is pretty large. Let's increase the size to some 0.6 and turn it 1. And let's create a couple of enemies. So this is our first enemy. Let's add more enemies. Let's position the 3 to 5. So these are all our enemies. And let's add multiple enemies with different shades. So we have the green, light green, maybe blue, yellow, pink, and also we can have a black enemy. Let's attach the enemy 1, the enemy 2, enemy 3, and the enemy 4. And inside our enemy manager, we need to add all our enemies, so it is randomly going to be spawning them. And let's see if our game crashes or not. Okay, dead spawn then. Get remaining distance. There is a problem. Now, uh, our ground has the box collider. Enemy has the capsule collider. It is not a trigger. We are going to need an AMS surface and we need to bake the surface. So let's remove the 2D. Now it is done. So let's hit play and let's see how it is working. Okay. So those are randomly going anywhere. Our player is moved beyond. So we need to scale 50-50 and let's remake our surface. Now our player can move everywhere. Also our enemies can move everywhere. So our enemies are going to chase us. We are near. And I mean, it is pretty simple. We just use the Navash agent and the enemies are moving everywhere. We could have also used the enemy chasing script which we have created in the previous lessons. Currently, we don't have any method to remove these enemies, so they are going to spawn indefinitely. And is the collision working? So that's it for this lesson or this video. So as you can see, we created a simple enemy spawner plus uh, AI agents following enemies, the Ramash agent. Let's go to the next chapter.